came out recently.
Yep. So this one is...
Well, we'll see it over here.
What is this?
Her name is Ayli.
Ayli Eternal Pilgrim.
All right, and we'll read it off. This one's a little easier. This is the picture. She looks really cool. This is the, I think the
promo.
Promo. Yeah. Yep. She's a white-black for a 2/3. Legendary core. Not a legendary core cleric. Not an ally. We'll get into that in a minute. Death touch. Sacrifice. One, sacrifice another creature. You gain life equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness. One, white-black. Sacrifice another creature. Exile target non-land permanent. Activate this ability only if you have 10 or more than your starting life. Now, we'll get into some of the cool flavor parts of that because this is a really cool card on that. We're going to talk first about the mechanical part. Like, first of all, the black is Death Touch. That makes sense. Exiling cards and sacrificing other creatures, dealing with life gain, is a very white-black effect. Like, this feels really very Orzhov. If this just was, black-black for a 2/3 and sacrifice another creature, exile target, non-land permanent with whatever clause, probably a bigger clause, probably would cost like 5 or something, that'd be a black card. If you had the white card, it wouldn't have Death Touch and it wouldn't sacrifice other creatures. But being white-black, it first of all gets to have Death Touch.
It's cheaper.
Yep, it gets to be cheaper. It gets to have a life gain cause, and then it gets to do stuff with that life. Black sometimes has ways to gain life, and sometimes has ways to interact with life. Usually it's some sort of sacrifice for the kind of blood effect. Mm-hmm. But this gets a very powerful version of that because it's white-black. So I really like the fusion of that. Now, let's talk about this card's most obvious home, which I think is possibly modern, right? Soul Sisters. Could you see it?
Yeah, I could see it. And I hope it's good enough to make Soul Sisters two-colored. People have tried two-color variants before on Soul Sisters, right?
A little bit. And you see it sometimes. It's the consistency. Now, the payoff is what we're really talking about. The 10 more life is 30, and that's already what it's shooting for.
Yep, because the creature that becomes a 6/6 with flying lifelink.
Right.
What's the name of that one? I don't remember.
Now I forgot it too. But
okay,
anyway, that's not as important. The fact that you pay 1 white, black, and sacrifice a creature to exile anything that's not a land. Like, they got a Planeswalker, gone.
Yep.
They've got, they're trying to put their...
Non-land Vindicate.
Yep, their Splinter Twin. Instant speed non-land Vindicate. Instant speed. That's a very powerful deck. And that deck has kind of dirtily creatures. Like, what do you really need all of your Soul Wardens for after?
Yeah, you don't really.
You don't. And this lets you turn your Soul Wardens into legitimate things. It also lets you sacrifice creatures. So let's say you've got your 6/6 out. And they go to kill it. They're going to kill it. And you're at 30. Exactly. You can sacrifice it to gain 6 life. And then they're just so far away from getting you back down to that. And then you can also sacrifice other creatures to...
Well, you could sacrifice it to destroy a permanent of theirs, too.
To exile.
To exile a permanent.
Exile non-land permanent.
Which is becoming more and more important.
Right. And that requires 3 mana, so it's a real amount. But, it's so easy to have one up. And, your opponent might go to path your creature or kill it. And getting that 6 life, being at 36 or 42, means they're basically never going to be able to get you back down until they have control of the game. And your Arranger of Eos just fetches up 2 more 6/6s, and it's a 3/2 body that can exile itself to just get rid of something. That said, there is a real cost to running 2 colors. When you do not have a lot of life, this is a 2 mana 2/3 with Death Touch that can eat creatures with toughness, which all the other creatures don't have much toughness. They have 1 or 2.
That's true.
So
if they're dying anyway, they'll pay 1 mana to gain a life instead of...
that's fine. Your opponent plays a Pyroclasm. You can sacrifice your board if you have the mana and all that. But the mana, that deck is mostly a tap-out deck. So,
yeah, it is.
Is it powerful? Yes. Will it find a home? We'll see. Could I see it? Definitely.
I hope so.
Now let's talk about the other cool part. So one of the things I really like here is that this is a very flavorful card. Ayli Eternal Pilgrim is the... she's originally from original Zendikar. And we can see flavor text here talking about Zendikar being her home. This is before Rise of the Eldrazi, before the Eldrazi even appear. She's just a cleric, and, she's talking about the longevity of Zendikar and how she's been here. You can see here she's talking about, being against the vampires. They're talking about Last Kiss, which is them draining the blood out of somebody. And then she's like, no bueno, I don't want to see this kind of stuff. And it has this really nice flavor. She's a normal kind of resident of Zendikar. And then the Eldrazi come. And we see most of the people on Zendikar are like, oh, we'll fight these things, right? But we have to remember the Eldrazi also represent the gods for them. And we see kind of stuff that's talking about pushing through with the Eldrazi
to heal the world.
To save the world. And then more importantly, things like gods don't die, they merely slumber. Aaliyah, Carni's cleric. Now this is, 5 years ago. 5 years ago this text came out. This is an old character. We came back to this world. We usually do see characters that have flavor text that might be important to the story or somehow referenced that never get a card. She got the card later, which I think is a really good sign that we might, go back to Ravnica. And this guy that we never had a card now has a card, which I think is a cool thing. And then we see her final part here. I believed in a beautiful god, but this is the new face of the divine. She is that. And here we see Eternal Pilgrim. In the story, she's the person that's worshiping Ulamog and Kozilek. And she has a card. She's not just dead. And her effects reference that. She's a cultist. The white-black is sort of the poster child for false religion or cult religion or death-based religion. Like these
Very much like Orzhov.
Yep, very Orzhov. But she's not a false sort of... She's worshiping a sort of false god and that they're not there to support her. But she truly believes that they're there and, because you can go back to other colors, you'll have like white-based angels and white-based deities, and they're nice. They're like, they might be wrathful, but ultimately they'll reward you. Kozilek's not going to reward you. Ulamog's not going to reward you. But you see the effects of that with the sacrificing creatures and getting exile effects, which are both sort of this kind of Eldrazi-esque feel. Like it all comes together in this little 2/3 to be a really complete package, which I was impressed with. Mm-hmm. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to change the name real quick, and we're going to talk about this white thing, which is not very exciting looking at first.
No, it's really not.
It's a package from Deckbox, which is a commander-based product. You guys give us 1 second, and we will be